broke my own rule there. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the ACC Rules and Regulations Committee. This is new, so a couple of things before we get started. What I'm thinking is housekeeping. We just talked about how important the mics are because that makes sure that everybody at home can hear us. This is live streamed. I don't know if we don't have an audience, but I don't know if we have any call-ins yet. Anyway, I know some of you, and I don't know the rest of you, and you probably don't know each other. So could we maybe go around the table starting back there, not past you, and could you say who you are and your experience for what we're doing today?
My name is Shelley Patterson, and I was promoted to the director of the ACC, and I'm also a member of resources, and I'm learning a lot.
How long have you been with POA?
I've been with the POA since 2009.
And you're now housed at the ACC office?
Doug and I are now at the ACC office, yes.
Okay.
And you're the administrator.
I was wondering if that was how
Yes.
it was going to stay
And
titled.
You're a non-voting member of the Rules and Regs.
Yes, sir.
You can hold up your hand, but it won't count. Just kidding. Okay.
My name is Curtis Clements. I'm an attorney in private practice in Bentonville, and I've represented the ACC in the past for several years now.
Okay.
I'm Linda Lloyd. I'm been a realtor for many years and also a builder and developer.
And going back to Curtis, Curtis is, we're going to continue to retain his services for the ACC, but he is also a non-voting member of the board,
Advisor.
of this committee.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, my name is Doug McCash. I've been with the POA since 2013 as general counsel, but I won't wear that hat for this committee. So I'm a regular committee member, voting committee member for this committee. Curtis is the attorney for the for the ACC. Yeah, just excited to be here.
You look excited there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm JB Portello. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm very active in the community, not only with the POA, but I'm actually, I actually am on the Rules and Regs Committee for the POA as well. And I've done that for a while, and it's kind of my passion. I kind of like things like that. I'm also a planning commissioner, so I'm all about championing all of us working together and streamlining everything we possibly can.
You done? My name is Tom Judson. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the POA, and I'm a member of this committee. I've been with the POA for 10 years.
I'm Doug Menton. I've never been with the POA. I've lived in the area for a little over 5 years now. My background and experience is primarily construction management, usually on huge jobs, but the Walmart group brought me here through my company to consult on the construction of their headquarters and a lot of other things around here through Blue Crane.
Okay.
And I'm excited to be here too.
Okay. And Taylor, not last but not least.
My name is Taylor Robertson, and I'm the Planning and Development Director for the City of Bella Vista. I'm a non-voting member of this committee. I've been with Bella Vista since 2021, and I primarily oversee functions of planning, engineering, certain permits, trails, active transportation. We partner with the POA on that as well, and then code compliance in regards to development.
So it sounds like we have a pretty educated Rules and Regs Committee here. Nice variety. Okay, so one of the things that we need to kind of on a timeline here a little bit. The developer wants us to not rush, but to try to get as much done as we can. So how does everybody feel? And I know we'll talk about this later, but how does everybody feel like maybe every 2 weeks we get together? Because we're not going to get everything done today. There's no way. Will that work for everybody? No? Yes? Taylor's looking rather...
Every 2 weeks, just like on every other every other Wednesday at the same time, 3 o'clock. Is that kind of what
We can set it as we go, but I'm
Okay.
just saying not wait a month.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just need to know the exact date before I commit to anything. Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, we can set that next one at the end,
To give you a little background.
Yes.
So, you know, the POA just took over the ACC on Monday. Now we knew this was happening for a little bit, about 6 weeks, but we just took it over on Monday. And one of the things that the developer, Blue Crane, wanted to do was implement new policies for the ACC, and their original plan was to implement those just before the takeover. And Doug and I were like, hey, let's slow it down. We want to go through a committee process. We want to make sure that we don't race through anything. So they agreed to not pass it, but they made that agreement on the provision that we would implement the changes in as efficiently as possible. So I went to JV beforehand and said, hey, I don't want to have the next meeting a month from now, and then we have another meeting a month from now, and then it's 3 months before we get the changes implemented, and we have not fulfilled, you know, the commitment that we made to the developer. Some of these changes are great. Some of these changes are not as great. So they need some work. So that's what we're trying to move it along in an efficient manner. We don't want to be hasty. We don't want to make mistakes, but we don't want to take too much time.
Exactly, and our role is to recommend any of the changes that we send forward to the board. We're not the final anything. We are making the recommendation to the ACC board, which meets tomorrow for the first time?
Correct, and that's one thing that's interesting about these changes is that because of how the declaration is written, the developer can assign certain rights, but they can't assign all the rights. So what ends up happening is any changes, any recommendations that are generated from this committee go to the board, the ACC board, and they'll vote on it, but it still has to go for final approval from the developer. Now, the developer has committed that when we say we send changes to the developer, if they do not respond within 5 business days, so a non-answer after 5 business days is a yes. So they're not looking to hold us up, and I think that they'll respond fairly quickly. So that's the process. So it's a little bit lengthy, but it is what it is.
That's right. These meetings, of course, are always held here, and it is live streamed, so everything is documented and transparency is out there for the universe, okay? Right. Which is a little different. So you have in front of you, and are you going to put these up on there too?
Yep.
There's a lot to do, so I was asking Tom earlier, maybe so we can make some progress to maybe tell us which ones are more important. I mean, I know they're all important, but are there some that we could look, we don't have to go in order is what I'm trying to say, unless you think we should.
So what I did was, and I'm going to use for lack of a better term, I'm going to use old and new, okay? The old policies, which are actually the current policies that are in effect, I'm going to call them the old ones, okay? The new ones are the ones, the shortened version, which I sent you. That's the new version, okay? And then you have the protective covenants, okay? So, which is another thing that we probably need to work on changing at some point, okay? So what I did on these, so everything that's in red is a recommended change or comments that I have made. So if you see in here, this looks good to me, the me is me. So I probably should have put okay TJ or something like that, but I didn't think about that. So what I first did was I went through and I wanted to be able to compare old to new because they resorted things, and they really resorted them in a logical manner, but in trying to compare it to old, I was getting lost. So like on policy 2.2, variances and appeals, you'll see parentheses 7.05 and 7.06. That actually references the old policy. And so what I recommend is you have all three documents together, old, new, and the protective covenants all together when you read through them to see, okay, what changes were made by the developer, what recommended changes were made. And then after you, this is what I was doing, then I took a step back and said, is this logical? Does this make sense? Does this fulfill the mission of what we're trying to accomplish with the ACC? That's why we're including Shelley, because she's ultimately the one that applies, the policies. And so we need to make sure that she can go, that may sound great on paper, but that's not going to work, and so forth. And then you'll notice that we've included Curtis because he has history, and he's been present when I'll call it the former ACC board, and it was also a committee, has seen appeals, so he'll be able to speak to that. And then we included Taylor from the city because I think there's a couple things that the city is taking care of, and so it may not make sense for the ACC to delve into this anymore if the city is already doing a great job and we're okay with the city, just going, they take care of it. For example, in the protective covenants, there's a comment, there's a section on septic systems and the Department of Health. Okay, to my knowledge, the city's got that covered. Does the ACC want to just exit that discussion altogether? We don't need to make a decision right now, but that came to mind, and that's where Taylor's expertise can come in and say, we got it covered on the city side. We don't need to delve into that at all. So that's what I did.
Just really quickly here, one of the things that we have done at the POA's rules and regulations is making this language as clear as possible to the everyday person that reads it. You're always going to get somebody that's interpreting things a little differently, but our job is to make it as clear as possible so that it passes muster with everything.
It was an exercise that we did about 3 years ago with the POA where, much to Doug's chagrin, we removed a lot of legal terminology and replaced it with terminology that the common person would use so that the common person can understand it and so forth. That's what we want to try and do. And I think that a lot of what the developer did, they accomplished that. So I think it's pretty good. So everything in red is mine. The other thing that and we just found this out today, is the developer recommended, and I'm getting into something very deep very quickly, I apologize for that, but we're going to have to come up with a solution pretty quickly, is on colors. They tried to simplify things by going with what is called, where is it? Oh, on 3.1.3, they tried to come up with, there's a thing called LRV, or light reflective value. They tried to make it where it's more objective than subjective. Before it was, colors that are in harmony with the nature, or however it's phrased. And so using the light reflective value where it's just a number system seemed like a good thing until
Yeah, I got some issues with that one too.
so we went through, and so this brown is probably in harmony, and that's a 40. That's pretty good.
Can you kind of say what the upper limit and the lower limit
Oh,
was?
That was
upper
one of the
is
things I was wondering. because
15 to 80.
15 to 80.
So this is a 40. This bubblegum pink is a 41.
Thank heavens.
Oh, boy. This one on bottom is 41. This mauve color, 39. This teal is 39. This oceanfront blue is a 41. This bottom one is a 30.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
LRV is not going to work.
No.
That's what I determined.
Nice.
I
thought.
want a pink house.
So does John Mellencamp. He wants a pink house also. It's
but-
not going to work.
I agree, there are, plus, I think if you really dig down into those numbers, it allows some pretty whitish and allows the black houses to continue, which I think are an abomination.
That's what I was wondering, is if there was an example like on the black or the white houses or anything.
Yeah,
Because it really doesn't,
we tried to find the LRV ones that were really close to the lower level of the LRV. So I'm not saying that we need to solve it today,
Think
But-
about it hard.
but we may on that one have to retreat to the original language that has been in place for a while, because I really thought the LRV was going to work, and I was like, wow, I like it where it's objective, it's
Till you
very
dig.
clear cut, and then we saw this and realized, wow.
it's still sort of subjective, because I know people that have gone in and submitted a bluish color, I think it was storm blue, and it got rejected, and they went back to Sherwin-Williams, had them relabel it slate gray, brought it back, same sample, and got it approved.
Yeah, and
Just change the name.
And just keep in mind, what we're trying to do is, regardless of what occurred previously, we're trying to set us up for
Right.
success going forward. There's a lot of claims, true or not true, of inconsistency and subjectivity. We're not going to debate those.
Right.
We're going to say what it is going forward, and we're going to try and set up the ACC for success, and so
Okay.
that's what we're working on.
So where would you like to start? I know that's a biggie that's gonna need some
And
work.
Tom, I would just say, as the attorney that is tasked with enforcing these things, the more objective you can be, and the clearer that these are, they're easier to enforce, and people can avoid problems by it being clear enough that they can understand.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, and in my last community, we were in charge of the ACC, and we had a board, and it had all the Sherwin-Williams samples and all the other companies that I can't remember, and basically said these are good and these aren't, and so we may be able to do something like that, which is very visual, something like that.
I have been told that if you go to Sherwin-Williams, they'll make you, those little things that come in the book, that they'll make you one with only your approved colors.
Oh, really?
Outstanding.
That's
It's
great.
like $150 or something, but they'll do that.
Probably well worth the money. So if you want, we can go through some of my comments, and that way
Yeah.
you can ask questions regarding them. They're in front of you, and then I also have it on the board. So we have it on the board so viewers at home can see what we're talking about. Because anything that is handed out at a meeting has to be accessible from the people at home. So introduction. I try to include, so protective covenants instead of you just using the word covenants. I just think that's a little bit clearer. You'll also notice that I try and use ACC board versus, because we need to make sure we distinguish between the ACC board and the POA board, because we do have a separation of powers even though it's under one umbrella. So I added, in many cases, a permit must be obtained from the ACC and the city of Bella Vista. The requirements of the city and the ACC are not always the same, so it is incumbent upon the applicant to ensure that each permit conforms with the respective requirements. So just trying to, from the very beginning, saying, look, you gotta get 2 permits, and there's different requirements, you know, and the ACC is not the city, you know, so we're not gonna include ordinance in here. We're not gonna, you know, that's
Government.
that's government, that's different. And you guys don't have to disagree on these, I'm just talking about what the changes I made.
Yeah, my only comment in the introduction, and this is going to apply throughout, but every place there was a reference to protective covenants, I just made a note, declaration and protective covenants.
Agreed.
And I just say that because the declaration is separate, and to be changed requires a vote of members, whereas the protective covenants can be changed by the developer. So.
I wish the declaration could be changed, but
No comment.
yeah. I can say that all day long.
We
I'm the one
won't
that has to
go there.
live with that thing. You know, I thought this first section was okay. So I think a lot of this work you guys are going to have to do really on your own, because it takes time.
So I did have are we talking
Yeah,
about the
yeah.
2.1?
Yes.
The one thing that was left out of this, and it may be intentional, but I just wanted to ask. So protective covenant number 10 requires a completion bond or credit information and proof of financial ability. And it may be that we're delegating that to the city, or I don't know. I know there are times where we've seen builders get overextended, and it's become a concern, and that's something we've relied on, that the ACC has relied on in certain instances.
Okay.
But it may not be as much of a concern at this time, but just wanted to point that out.
What does the city require?
It's a little different, you know, new bonds, if it reaches a point where it's not.
Oop.
Saw it, it worked. Caught my attention, okay.
Gets your attention.
We have to copy that planning commission, but essentially, if it reaches a point where it needs torn down, like you're talking like the sites that have sat for a while, they're not making progress, 6+ months, it's been at the same stage. Their process, the ACC process, is the bond. Ours is a lien, and basically declaring that it needs torn down if it reaches that point, if they're not going to proceed further with the structure. So ours is done with the county through the lien process, essentially. So it's a little different.
What's going to be more motivating to get the house going, get the developer going? Is the bond going to be more motivating?
The bond's up front, right? That's kind of the difference. The bond is up front, the lien is after the fact, like we've been waiting, it's time to move. So that's a more proactive approach. Ours is reactive, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
But I've never been asked for any of that from the ACC on bond permits.
Yeah, and I will say, we had one builder that had, I don't know, over 20 that had gone past the 1 year, and were just, it appeared there may be some overextension going on. So there are provisions that do allow the ACC to step in and complete the project with their own funds, and then have a lien and require a sale. So
Boy,
that,
do we want to do that?
I don't,
Oh my God.
that, you know, that was something that we I understood the former administrator had contacted Blue Crane and said, this is an option. It's not an obligation to the ACC. It's just a potential tool that they could use. So, but the hope was that by letting the builder know that, it would motivate them to finish it, because ultimately that's what you want, is you want finished houses, not incomplete projects. So.
And the city is in some cases handcuffed by state law, so they can only do so much, where this is a private entity, so they have a little bit more flexibility.
Well, in terms of nuisance, property nuisance, I mean, there's quite a bit of authority in there with abatement and the liens and that kind of thing. But again, it's reactive. It's not going to be a proactive solution with maybe recurring builders that have a history of prolonging or stalling.
Or maybe if it's, if you have more than X number of permits, then it's required?
That's totally up to this committee and the developer. I'm good with whatever you have the desire to do, just
So
want
you're
to make sure it's
defined-
enforceable.
We want your legal opinion, but we also want your opinions. So, I understand that you're gonna give me the law, but I also want to get your opinion, because you have history. If Linda Lloyd is saying that she's built some homes and they haven't had that requirement, is it a situation, if we had someone building 4 homes and then all of a sudden went bankrupt and it's sitting there doing nothing for a year, that's a problem.
It is, and
I mean, it's a problem if it's just 1 home, but it's a much bigger problem when it's 4 homes.
right now, we have a protective covenant, and unless that is changed, it says the ACC shall require.
The shall word.
But he also referenced earlier that we can change the protective
change it,
covenant, so we can remove the word shall, or we can put in there, shall require it if you have more than 3 permits at a time, or something like that. All right, we don't need to make a decision
No.
today, but I think would it be trackable if we said more than, what's a good number? 3 permits going at the same time?
What, Taylor?
We've got builders that sometimes will have 10 plus going at once. We've got some builders with large capacity.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about
Which in this kind of real estate market is problematic, because we're in a very soft real estate market right now. And stuff is sitting and stuff is not selling. So it's not like during COVID, when they finish it, put it on the market, and 4 people are fighting after it, and it closes right away. So this is a different real estate climate. So we've got to think about a variety of different economic situations as far as what we put together.
And keep in mind, we can't go backwards.
No, I understand.
So we're not gonna go to an existing builder and say, hey, for those other 3 that you're doing.
Totally.
But if it's completed, then what would be the issue? It just.
But
hasn't
if
sold.
a builder is overextended and his finished houses aren't selling, that definitely adversely affects his under construction projects, because he's not getting that money
Oh, yeah.
replenished. If they're finished, it's a different story, but usually they have them in a variety of states of finish.
So wouldn't that be an example of where we would wanna have construction bond?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, okay.
Yes. Yes. It's,
I think 10's a reasonable number. I mean, granted, there'll be maybe, a handful of builders that have more than 10 houses going at a time. That's not a huge number. I think you could start with 10 and see how that, if that impacts 100 builders or 5 builders.
I
10 was
think
high.
10's way too high. Hey, some builders get in trouble on 2.
Yeah, it's.
It depends on the builder's financial capability, which was what that was trying to resolve up front to start with.
But
I
it's
think it's
not
a
just finances,
lower number.
it's employees to do that many. How many crews can you run? I
Yeah.
mean, you get so many under construction, you get stacked up and you're not gonna complete within a certain period of time because you have too many.
Curtis, do you know how much it costs for a completion bond?
Well, and I would point out that, I don't, but I would say that Protective Covenant 10 requires either the bond or proof of financial ability.
That's what I've had to do in the past, is to submit a personal financial statement to say,
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering if 10 if you can do 10, you probably have more financial resources. I'm wondering, I don't know the stats. I'm wondering if this person that's right in between, they get 4 and then they get extended, the markets get soft, and then all of a sudden they get in trouble. The person that has the financial wherewithal to do 10 projects at one time may have more resources behind them to weather the storm.
It's also tricky because you have people running multiple entities. And
Yep,
that, we saw that a lot, that there were,
different LLCs for every project, some builders do.
Oh boy.
So that,
so tying it to a
Number.
number could be tricky to enforce in that situation.
All right, let's, I think we're bogging down on this
Yeah,
one,
sorry.
and we're on the first page, so.
it'll get easier.
I don't think it's gonna get any easier.
Well, you know, today might just be the overview.
Yeah.
I have a generic question about 2.11. Is this, so you said this is new, this has been redone. So is this a reduction as to what was previously being done for application checklist, do you know? Okay, because there are requirements on here that I was familiar with that are not on here. So I was wondering if there's a reduction being done purposefully.
Yeah, if you look at our checklist, it's way bigger than
Yes, yeah, especially for the plot plan.
Do you have?
I'm sorry, yes. If you look at our checklist, it's much longer than this.
Do you have an example, Taylor, of just one that comes to your mind?
So the plot plan checklist typically, I know this just says lot dimensions, structure locations, setbacks, and easements, but there are, what, 20? Almost 20 items on the plot plan checklist. One thing, for example, is the survey seal. They don't require a signed survey, but they require a survey seal on the plot plan. Even though it's not a survey, it's a plot plan.
This is our checklist.
Can you send a copy of that checklist to everybody here, please?
It would seem to me, though, if they have certain requirements that they have to meet with the city for plot plan, I'm not sure that we do we want to get into all those little details? I think it's good to minimize the checklist for this group, if, you know, if the city's got it covered.
Agreed.
They would normally just bring the same pile of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
What do you think, Taylor?
There was just a point that we were reaching where builders were coming to me and saying that they were basically having to design 3 different plot plans, one for the city, one for the ACC, and then an additional one if required for the city, depending on what was being done. And so we were trying to think of ways to consolidate that, one that covered everything.
I'd like that.
So.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And maybe there's one checklist, I'm being a little facetious, maybe the checklist goes down to one item that says a plot plan that meets all city requirements, all city setback requirements. You know, unless there's
I'm sorry.
unless there's something really big that we want to govern that the city's not, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
The only thing I can think of that comes to mind is your guys' protective screening easements.
That's what, yeah.
Because we
That's what I
don't,
was thinking of, because, yeah, we don't want people driving across the screening easements. We want those maintained and not building in those, but I don't think the city has any dog in that fight, so.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Review criteria, I think this was fairly consistent with how it was previously written.
Which number?
2.1.2.
Oh, okay. Oh, down the bottom, yep.
And the same thing for 2.1.3. I thought both of those were fairly consistent.
The main comment I had on 2.12 is subpart E, whether the site plan preserves the aesthetics of Bella Vista. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, I don't either.
If the ACC says this is not meeting that criteria, Curtis, we want you to enforce it, I'm not sure I understand what that means so that I could, so.
It's very subjective. Okay.
Because you have a section on tree preservation, and that section's got a whole bunch of issues anyway, but I'm sort of thinking this maybe applies to that.
Yeah,
Don't know.
I would agree with it. That's a very vague term, and I don't know. Unless they used it as a catch-all,
Could be.
you know, to say we're not gonna approve it because it doesn't apply to section E. And-
Yeah, but then if it were to go to court, how do you define
Yeah, I agree.
that?
I agree.
Just a quick question.
Absolutely.
I was just asking Doug. I see no definitions up front, and he said it could have, but why are there no definitions?
Because we haven't added them yet.
Okay. But I mean, seriously, that might take care of things like what's an aesthetic, you know? Maybe not.
Even at that, I don't think that's gonna.
I know,
yeah.
but that's just an idea, just
Yeah.
some definitions up front.
Because that's important when I'm looking at city ordinances as to what I have to do. They'll mention something, and I'll flip back to the definitions to see how is that defined to determine what I have to do.
Got it. Okay. I think we're gonna end up having to strike that one. I don't think I don't think you can adequately.
You can't define it.
Yeah, I don't think you can. How about the permit issuance? All right. Okay, so the next one, I did a lot of changes. The strike-throughs are things that I'm recommending that we get rid of, and then the bottom paragraph is the all new. You know, Doug and I attended all of one meeting that had 2 appeals. So our appeal experience is limited, but we do want to make sure that it's in an open forum, so that people come up and voice their concerns, state so forth, or can watch and so forth. So what we did on this one was, the ACC does have an appeal form, and Shelley's been working on updating that, and we'll include a copy when that gets finalized. The existing one the existing policy has where the appeal is limited to 5 minutes. Curtis, have you found that that's a sufficient amount of time?
It has been,
Oh, sorry.
yes, it has been sufficient for people. There are times where there was enough detail that they were given some grace, but in general, most people, 2 or 3 minutes can state their case.
So at our board meetings, we limit it to 3 minutes, and we try to be very careful. You know, the person comes in with a smile on their face and they're very happy with the board, and then the board gives them more than the limitation, and then the person comes in and they're a curmudgeon and they cut them off right at 3 minutes, and that doesn't look good. So I think we got to be very careful not to violate it, but it is a give and take where there's going to be questions.
And that was the only question I had about this, because the times where it's gone over 5 minutes is when there are those questions from the ACC. And this right now says they're given 5 minutes for their presentation. And you've been through that process a couple times, so you've seen the other side of that. But is it 5 minutes for the presentation, and then after that, board members could ask questions, and that's not part of their 5 minutes? Or
How about if we phrased it as, you're gonna love this word, they're encouraged to limit their opening comments to 5 minutes, but the entire Q&A, presentation and Q&A process is limited to 20 minutes.
The Board of Zoning Adjustments, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
15
That
minutes.
helps.
yeah,
How about that?
yeah, I think probably 10 would be sufficient, but 15 is very gracious. So.
We actually do 10, 15, 10. So the staff gets 10 minutes, the applicant gets 15 minutes that's appealing it, and then We have the public hearing where people can come talk, and then the applicant gets another 10 minutes to address anything that was said in the public hearing. So in total, they actually get 25 minutes, I guess, but it's just split.
That brings up a good point. Will other people besides the homeowner be able to speak on the issue?
There
If
could
it
be
was,
a
like, if it
homeowner
was
and a
if it
builder.
was a blue house and you've got other owners in Bella Vista who say, I also have a blue house, I would like, or is it just specific on that particular appeal of that decision? Or they could use their 5
Could you
minutes for
only
whoever
ask me
speaks.
easy questions?
That wasn't in our instructions.
Wouldn't each person sign up to speak for their
They're
5
gonna-
minutes though?
Okay, so they're gonna bring their buddy with them. They're gonna bring their neighbor, their whomever, and they're,
But they could.
or maybe it's, your comments and corroborating comments or something like that. So a person, you have your 15 minutes, and within that 15 minutes, you get to speak. And if you want to bring someone on to speak on your behalf, that's within the 15 minutes also.
Right, because you might have a
This is
subject
coming off
matter
the hip,
expert.
so I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea.
To me, it's like the applicant has submitted a permit on their own facts, their own basis. They're the ones that are making the argument. They're the ones that have to live with the decision of the appeal. So if they want to bring someone to speak on their behalf, I think it would have to be within that 10 minutes. But I think,
But are you talking about maybe the neighbor doesn't want the blue house?
That was my question, is the
Yeah, they
intent to
wouldn't know.
include people against the appeal or just only for the appeal?
Traditionally, what the ACC has done is just allowed the homeowner and a representative like their architect, their builder, to speak on the issue. People may have made complaints about it, but they are not given a forum for that because the decision has already been made at the administrator level, and an appeal has been taken from that.
So maybe we do need to at least give any public comments, limit them to 3 minutes?
If you're doing it in an open forum and somebody's in the audience because they know that Sally's coming to, appeal her decision, if we're putting this together based on transparency and being open, should you allow other comment?
I think you should.
what do you call that part?
It's a public hearing.
Public
Yes.
hearing?
Yes.
And we can limit it to 3 minutes per person.
Yeah, that one you could limit to 3
Per person.
per person.
And so if the entire neighborhood hates the blue house, and they all come in for 3 minutes, then the meeting's long, but we're there.
Yeah, I guess it determines how you're disclosing agenda items on the agenda. If John
'Cause
Jones
there's-
Blue
yeah.
House appeal.
Is the
or-
average person gonna even know?
Yeah.
They won't unless you tell somebody.
Because they have to get the appeal within 5 days. It's currently 10 days. I changed it to 5 days to try and make it more efficient for the member so they can get an answer quicker for the member. But if we keep, which is good, but that then limits someone from knowing that what's going on.
Because when we do the planning commission, it's posted.
And we intend
This is-
to do that as well, post the agenda, but I'm not sure how far in advance of the actual appeal meeting we've talked about doing that.
Maybe as part of the agenda that is posted, maybe the agenda has to be posted, okay, a week in advance, and any appeals are attached to the agenda. So that way it becomes a public document, not a public document from your point of view, but a public document.
But if they have 5 days before the meeting, you can't post an agenda 7 days before the meeting.
Well, I threw in the 5, so we can change it to 7. It was at 10.
Right, yeah.
And maybe it needs to stay at 10 because it's gonna take us a day or two to put the agenda together.
Is this 10 days or 10 working days?
10 business days.
It's the business days, so, yeah.
It complicates counting, but that's fine.
Yeah, because I understand there's a legal question as to
Yeah.
whether Saturday is a business day or not, since we get
President's
mail
Day.
on Saturdays, so Saturday is technically a business day.
Get off in the weeds here, but like, you know,
Holidays.
holidays are
Holidays.
the business day.
Yeah.
The bank's closed, but the POA's not. You
Well,
know,
under definitions, we can put business days are Monday through Friday.
Except for legal holidays.
Oh, don't give me no exceptions.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna get kicked off before we get going.
Too late, it's already done.
And then I had one more comment on that. It's just a recommendation. The language you put in introduction at the very end, just stating that you might need a permit from both, changes, etc. This kind of also applies here. It might be helpful because we ran into that a lot before. Is, well, they got a variance from the ACC board 3 months ago. And it's like, well, now they're trying to get a permit from us. Like, well, you also need a variance from us. That's a 42-day typically review process because we have to notify the public in lots of ways to meet state law. So I'm not sure if you're trying to meet the same goal in both sections, if that makes sense.
I think that, I was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking, at the end of the day, I'm always trying to make it easier, not easier, more customer service oriented, more member oriented, to try and move it along
Efficient.
as efficiently as possible. That's ultimately our goal. Is we want to provide the membership with outstanding customer service, and so that's why I went from 10 days to 5 days, because that's better customer service. Now we're back up to 10, but I wouldn't want to go to 45 if we're just talking about color and stuff like that.
No, I was just saying the language you put in intro 1 would be helpful in 2.2. You may also need a variance from the city.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what we ran into, is they didn't know they needed a variance from both of us, and it delayed the project by almost 2 months.
I have been doing a lot of listening, and they're very good at saying you really need to check with the city as well, so we can keep that.
Yeah.
But if we have that on paper, and you know what, what Doug and I have found is early on when I'm talking about the POA policies, is we would be like, well, at the very beginning we say this, so we don't need to say it again.
We do.
But the reality is they don't read the whole document. They just go to write that document, and you end up having to repeat yourself multiple times because they just go straight to the policy and they say, it's not in here. And then you have to go, well, see, on page number 1, way up here, that's where it's covered. So we think it's best to include it over and over again.
Is there a reason the decision is made without the applicant present?
So
I have found that to be extremely disorienting and unfair
As
So,
the applicant?
as the applicant, coming
Yeah.
from the applicant side.
right, so a couple different things. Doug and I talked about this extensively because we're going from an environment where everything was 100% closed door.
Right, no, I
Okay?
understand.
And we're trying to make it open those doors. But we also want to be cognizant that we're going to have board members that are volunteers that are going to be discussing, and the applicant's going to be sitting there, and some of our property owners
I understand.
are challenging. And I certainly don't want to put a board member in a position where they feel uncomfortable stating their opinion. And it's been many years since I got a traffic violation and went to court. It's been like 20 years. But the judge didn't tell you the answer. At the end, I stated my case, and they said, you'll find out in the mail. So this wasn't a discussion, so I was thinking about that too. I'm not a bad driver. I feel leery about,
I understand that side of it, but what I also understand is they sit around and make a decision and you have no appeal. So you're stuck with what they said and decided while you were not present.
but you got to state you first went to the administrator. The
Right.
administrator said no. Then you went to the board.
Right.
We gave you due process. Doug would correct me on that or something like that. You got the opportunity to plead your case. I can see your point of view, and I can see my point of view. What are you guys feeling?
So from an attorney perspective, what would happen when Linda leaves the room or whoever was making their presentation? The board would say, Curtis, what do the protective covenants say? What our policy says? What are the chances if we do this that they could take us to court? And so doing it in an executive session would allow me to answer honestly and advise my client, the ACC,
I understand that too.
and then they can make a decision. So it would protect that information that would otherwise be attorney-client privileged, which would not be if we're doing it in an open forum.
I think you just.
And there is litigation, so, it's important to protect that attorney-client privilege. So I see Curtis's point.
Yeah, I do too. We're trying to avoid getting, at the end of the day, you don't want to get sued for everything.
I think that rather than do it in front of them, if they have questions as to why they were denied they should be given an answer as to this is our conclusion and why, instead of no. And
I don't disagree with that. You were denied because you violated policy 1, 2, 3, 4,
right.
or whatever.
No, but our letter, the letter says it's not acceptable. That's all it says. When you get,
No, but I'm saying that's the past. Going
understand.
forward, maybe the requirement in here is that it has to stipulate
a reason
what
or
you
a
violated.
reference or something.
Letter must reference reason why they were denied.
I think that might be helpful to people.
All right, anything more on that? So we're begrudgingly okay with it being in executive session.
No, I understand Curtis. I understand.
Huh?
I think it should be.
Yeah. And we'll just go for a little bit longer. We like to try and keep our meetings to an hour. And there's no way we're gonna get through all this anyways. So, we'll go a little bit past the hour, but not too much. Aesthetic design, there's Curtis's favorite word, aesthetics. So this is a quote straight from the declaration, and I just didn't think that we needed to reference Article 12, Section 1 of the covenants, and it's actually not in the covenants, it's in the declaration. So the declaration is the portion that really can't be changed. It can, but it really can't.
Before we get to that, the final section of 2.3, inspection and compliance. I just wanted to point out an issue that the ACC would deal with from time to time, and that's that someone would build a house without a permit, or they would get a permit and then do it totally different colors, different materials. It's not where it's supposed to be, whatever.
They move it over a foot.
Exactly.
Or 10 feet.
And unfortunately, they may have sold it and there's a new owner, and that new owner now says, I had no idea. So one of the things that the ACC had done to try to give notice was to file a notice that a permit, and I don't know to what extent they had done this. This is something they had talked to me about, so that when a permit for a new home, for example, was granted, their intent was to file this notice of a permit being granted that would be recorded in the deed records and would state that when the project is completed, a certificate of completion will be filed in the deed record showing that it has passed its final inspection. The city does have a certificate of occupancy that they give, but the ACC had nothing like that. And the concern was you have a new homeowner who says, because what would happen is the ACC only has privity to file suit against the current homeowner. And so they then would have to bring a third-party claim against the builder or whoever was the prior owner. So I don't know if that's something we want to address or not, but it has been an issue in the past. And it's not the kind of surprise that a new homeowner wants to discover.
Yeah, the staff brought that to our attention, that it's been an issue where, yeah, you have a brand new property owner and the builder's long gone, and the home is in violation, and it's going to cost $10,000 to repaint or redo or something like that, and the brand new property owner who just moved into their dream home is now hates Bella Vista because, you know, we're going to impose or require them to repaint whatever. And it's really the builder's fault.
It seems like we could administratively fix that, though. I mean, the city puts out a list of new home permits that they've granted on a monthly basis. We could have a process where we're scrubbing that against current ACC permits. If they haven't filed an ACC permit, but they've got a building permit, we send out a letter that says you have 30 days to file an ACC permit, or we're gonna file a notice of non-permit or something like that.
But they could have filed for a permit, but didn't comply to it, you know, and so we'd probably need a certificate of compliance.
Well, I'm not sure how often the ACC does reviews, but if we know that if they have an ACC permit, how often are we driving by and looking at?
I think Bruce was saying that they'd come back and check it after like 8 months.
The permit's for a year, they set it up, so it's for review at 8 months.
So
But sometimes it's
so the
already
new-
sold by that point.
So the new property owner could be in there months before they get a knock on the door. Do you guys publish COs?
Yeah, the COs are publicly viewable on our public portal.
But not just if you go into the address, you can get it. It's not like there's a list of COs, right?
Like, are you talking about our monthly reports? We don't send monthly reports, but we do report on how many were completed. But we don't. That might be something we could add to our monthly reports. Is how many COs.
Is it something that what you're talking about is tying it together?
Yeah.
You have a staff member that goes
Every 2
and
months
does
instead of-
I don't know if it's searchable, but okay, these are all the open permits, but you're not.
But
you're
that's
still,
for when isn't this that we would need to do this, like when they do the permit to kind of cloud the deed before, so they can't sell it without us knowing about
To
it?
Doug's point, that would work for like a new construction. They haven't gotten a permit. But his point was, if they've gotten a permit and they said it's going to be brown and green, and then they complete it 6 months later and it's orange and purple, we wouldn't know that unless we're doing on-site inspections. And we'd have to do that, try to figure out how to do that before they sell the property.
which could be days. And
Yeah.
there's no way we're gonna get inspections done on that. So it sounds like your solution is the best.
At what point do you file that?
Unless the city requires that you have your certificate of compliance turned in when you go to get your.
Yeah, would that be
But
a?
that shouldn't be their
Yeah, we
responsibility.
can't require
They
ACC
can't.
stuff.
Okay.
It's a private thing.
As far as when you would file it, ideally you would file it when the permit was issued. You just, the ACC has the ability to e-record so they can do it from the office.
But then when a property's sold, it would have to show up on the title search as a requirement for closing. Then it would be up to the title company to put that as a condition of closing.
Well, that would be up to the title company whether they did that or not, but it would at least give notice to someone who is purchasing the property that there may be an unresolved ACC issue.
But I have the same problem with that as I do with the city's deed restrictions on number of bedrooms on a septic. Yes, if I build a 4-bedroom house and it's deed restricted to a 2-bedroom septic, it's very easy for that property to get sold and the new buyer have no clue. Because when you get your title report at closing, like down on page 15 or 16, it will reference that deed restriction. It will not include a copy of it. So the buyer has no clue what that particular deed restriction is. The agent doesn't look at it. And there's no actual way to hold up. The buyer knows there's an issue in most cases.
But it does give you a leg to stand on when you say, look, we posted this in a public manner.
Sure.
We disclosed it, that there was a concern. You knew homeowner, you ignored it because they didn't know. But at least they're legally notified.
Well, and this may be something that the ACC chooses to do as a matter of practice, but you may not decide to put it in the policy and procedure manual. Because if you failed to file one and the policy and procedure manual tells you to do it,
Yeah.
and then you didn't, then you could create some liability as well.
Then it's on us because we didn't notify them.
Right.
Lovely.
If you create that requirement, but if you just make it a practice, then,
Then you-
Questioning the wisdom and including you here.
you're probably not the last one.
I gotta hit the list. You go, all right. We'll go for, 10 more minutes and then we'll call it quits. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Because we could be here for hours and hours and.
I'm just thinking out loud, but some of these things we can, these issues that are being brought up, you and I can perhaps get together and put some proposed language together for the committee for next time.
No, I agree. But this is, well, I personally am getting a couple things from this short meeting so far is, I don't know if 45 days is going to be realistic.
I know.
Because we're really talking about very important things that we want to make sure we get it right. So I think let's have the meetings every 2 weeks or so. And if I have to call the developer and say, look, we need more time, I think that's,
Do it right. Yeah.
Or what we do is, and JV and I talked about this, is maybe it takes long enough to change one small policy, let alone all of them. Maybe we get to a point where, okay, we're okay with policy 1, 2, and 3. Okay, we're gonna vote on that one and get that over with. And now we're gonna work on 3, 4, 5, boom, that kind of stuff. And maybe that's the approach we take, because trying to get all of them done at one time is probably not realistic.
What do you see the role of this body moving forward? Because big project initially up front here, after these are hashed out and implemented, would it still be monthly meetings, or what
I
would
think
you
it's
see
gonna
there?
be ad hoc at that point. I mean,
Okay.
that's what, so JB is the chair of the POA Rules and Regulations Committee, and we meet, there's 6-month periods where we don't meet. And then something comes up, and then we, look at the policy, we work on the policy, and then it gets adopted. And so I view that being kind of the template. I do want, the documents do need to be living documents, meaning,
Yes, living.
you know, someone comes in and they appeal because the construction industry just came out with a new product that we've never seen before, and it's currently not allowed. But the board says, hey, this is interesting. We need to change the policies to make this allowed. So they kick it down to this committee, and the committee discusses it, modifies the policy, and then goes through the approval process. So that's kind of how I view it.
Yeah, we're gonna be busy for a while, quite a while.
If you're talking about what I think you were, that was one question I had on the like on the roofs. There's lightweight composite roofs now out of concrete that look like tile. I mean, they're very good. They're not approved on this.
Yeah.
And they're fireproof. There's lots of positive things about it. And I was surprised not to see it on the list.
So, oh boy. I was trying to come up with a logical,
Yeah.
because we got to give the ACC some guidance regarding the exterior colors. So we're
That should be first, or pretty close to the first.
I think that's got to be I think 3.13 has got to be the first thing. If we're gonna piecemeal this, I think 3.13 has got to be the first thing that we tackle. Because their marching orders right now are to go with the current plan and current policies in place. Let's do this. This is just a suggestion. Doug and I will work on, now that we know light reflective values probably not going to work, let us work on some language, and we will send this out to the committee, and then you guys contemplate what your thoughts are on it, and let's try and we'll have that one, and then maybe we'll pick one other thing as a backup. You know, if the conversation goes very quickly and we get approval on that one, then we have something. You know, we don't want to. We've had situations where we only worked on one item, and then we went through it very quickly, and then we didn't have a backup, and it's kind of a wasted meeting. So we don't want to do that.
Well, and then we might work it all out, and it gets to the board, and they think of something we didn't, you know?
I don't disagree with that.
Or they question.
Do we want to try and set up
Yeah,
a meeting
a
date?
time, yes. So are Wednesday afternoons good for folks? Is that the good day? As long as it's not in the morning, 'cause that's TV time.
Wednesdays are
me.
good for me.
Are they? How's everybody feel about Wednesdays? Or does it need to be more on a rotating
We have a
basis?
meeting, Taylor. The Razorback Greenway Corridor Plan at 3 o'clock, is that correct?
Yeah, that's next weekend. That's next week. All right, that is 2 weeks from today, yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Or is it, yeah, how
Yes,
about
19th.
on that Tuesday instead, the 18th?
That would work for me. How's everybody look for the 18th?
Are you thinking 3 o'clock?
Does that work? I don't have any appointments that day at all.
I serve on the Rogers School Board, and we meet at 5, but if you're gonna try to.
Meet at 2?
I mean,
We
3
could
o'clock
meet at
is
2.
fine. If you're gonna be done by at least 4:30, then give me time to.
Talking about Tuesday, the 18th.
Yes.
Tuesday 18th at,
I have a tax county tax board meeting all day.
Okay.
Great.
That sounds like fun.
It can be.
Monday the 17th?
Can you do Wednesday earlier, like 1 o'clock?
Wednesday at 1 o'clock?
I can do that.
Yeah.
Wednesday 1? Do you have another fun meeting?
Not yet.
March 19th at 1 o'clock?
19th at 1
Wednesday
o'clock?
the 19th at 1.
Jessica, if she's still awake. We'll send out a meeting reminder for the 19th at 1 o'clock.
Oh, it's gonna be a crazy day.
Okay.
It's hard to coordinate all these schedules.
All right, if that works for everybody, then I think for today, we're all like probably needing a drink or something after all of these thought processes we've been through. I'm talking about water.
Of course, I knew you were talking about water.
See, right here.
Scotch and water.
No, anyway, nothing worthwhile is easy or necessarily fun.
This is fun. What are you talking about?
You're an attorney, so you think things like this are fun. But in all seriousness, no, this is not anything that we can go through and just done.
Yeah.
We really need to make it
Needs
work.
to be right. It
Yeah.
needs to work.
And we won't get it right necessarily the first time through. So, all right, so if there's nothing else, we're adjourned.
Hey.